Okay, in this video, we're going to go through the 4.2 notes. So congruent figures, that's a vocab word for us. Oops, excuse me. Get out of there. Okay, so this is a vocab word. So congruent figures mean that all the parts of one figure are congruent to the corresponding parts of the other figure. Okay, so let's say I have triangle ABC, and that is corresponding to triangle DEF. So that means that angle A equals angle D, angle B equals angle E, angle C equals angle F. Those are the corresponding angles. And you can do the same thing for sides, and we'll do that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Okay, the third angles theorem is if two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of the other triangle, then the third angles are also congruent. So let's give an example of that, and I think I'll use the same basic shape. So let's say if we knew that that was a right angle and that was 30 degrees, and if we also knew that that was a right angle and that was 30 degrees, wouldn't we know that the two question mark angles have to be the same? Okay? Of course we will, because both are equal to 60 degrees, since the triangles have to both equal 180 degrees, and you already have 90 and 30 in each one. Okay, reflexive property is when you say this triangle equals itself. Okay, so it's like when you look in the mirror, you look in, you say, yep, that's the same as me. So think about this as a mirror type of a property. Symmetric property is if you say triangle ABC is congruent to DEF, then triangle DEF is congruent to ABC. So think about it with angles. Angle A is congruent to angle B, therefore angle B is congruent to angle C. Okay, that's the symmetric property. Okay, one more property is the transitive property, and this I find rather interesting. So if triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, and triangle DEF is congruent to triangle JKL, since these guys are the same, doesn't it make sense that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle JKL? Okay, so let's do it with simpler things. So if angle A is congruent to angle B, and angle B is congruent to angle C, since they're both congruent to B, I could thereby say that angle A is congruent to angle C, and be done. Okay, so those are three properties that will come up in this chapter. Let's go on to the next page of notes. Okay, identifying congruent parts. Okay, write a congruent statement for the triangles. So if we're going to write a congruent statement, it's going to look like this. So here is the congruence statement. Then based on that statement, you can say angle J, so J is congruent to T, those are corresponding. That's what we have right here. And then K is congruent to S. That's what we have here. And then lastly, L is congruent to R. And that's what we have here. Okay, so let's erase some of the marks I just made. And let's talk about the sides. It's always best to go back and look at your congruent statement and not the shapes again. So take the first two letters, JK, that's congruent to TS. JK, TS. Take the next two letters. So KL is congruent to SR. KL, SR. Then take first and last, or last and first. Last and first. So LJ is congruent to RT. And then you can look at the shape and you can see that that is exactly what you would say had you been looking at the shape. I will tell you it is infinitely easier to use your congruent statement than to keep going back and looking at the shape. Okay, so definitely do that. Okay, so let me give you a triangle. So let's have this one, and I'll do that one. So this is ABC, and this can be DEF. So if I say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Okay, so I would say that if what? AB, DE. So these are the same. These are the same. Okay. Is that right? FE, FE, and... Okay, so hold on a second. AB goes with DE. Okay, so I'm going to do this better. So hold on. Okay, let's use my statement to label it. So AB is congruent to DE. So DE should be a 2. Okay, BC is congruent to EF. That should be a 3. And AC is congruent to DF. That should be a 1. Okay, so that's what we have going on here. So let's list out our angles. So the angle congruencies are angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle B is congruent to angle E. And angle C is congruent to angle F. And I'm doing that from the congruence statement. Okay, now do the pairs. AB is a segment. That's congruent to segment DE. And this is our segment. BC is congruent to EF. And they're segments. And then last and first, CA is congruent to FD. Okay? So that is what I expect you to be able to do. Okay, let's go to the next page for more practice. Okay, so here they want you to find X and Y. So once again, I have this congruency statement. Based on the statement, let's label the figure. So angle D, I'll give 1 hash mark, and that's going to be equal to angle S. Angle E, I'm going to give 2 hash marks, and that's going to be equal to angle P. Angle F, I'll give 3 hash marks. Let me take away these. Maybe I can't do that. Okay, so I'm going to give 3 hash marks. 1, 2, 3 blue hash marks. And that's going to be equivalent to angle Q. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and I'm not going to label anything else because the unlabeled are equal to the unlabeled. Okay, let's figure out with a different color, we'll do the sides. So DE will have 1 hash mark, and that's equivalent to SP, which will have 1. Okay, I'm doing this right from the equivalency statement. And then EF will have 2 hash marks. That's equivalent to PQ. That has 2. FG will have 3. And FG is equivalent to QR, and that'll have 3. And then the remaining one, I can easily just give them 4. Okay, so seeing what I have. So it looks to me that 2x minus 4 has 3 hash marks. So that has to be equal to 12 because that's where the 3 hash marks are on the first shape. Add 4, 2x equals 16, x equals 8. We are halfway home. Okay, next one. I see I have an angle, so the 3 hash marks angle, so let me change color. So the 3 hash marks are going to be 6y plus x, and that has to equal the 3 hash marks on the other shape, which is 68. Now, I already know that 8 is my x. So that's going to help me because I can only identify one variable if I have one equation. So I end up with 6y equals 60 or y equals 10, and I am set. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, so this is important. This is using the third angle theorem. So the first thing I'm going to do is label my angles. So I know that the 2 hash marks are both 30 and the single hash marks are both 45. Then what I know is, let me not do that. I know that this yellow triangle is missing only one angle. So if the first bottom 2 are 60, because it's 30 plus 30, then the big guy must be 120 to get to 80. To get to 180, excuse me. Okay, so then look at this. Do you see how 120 and this angle have to sum to 80 because they're on the same straight line? So that means this is going to be 60. If this is 60, this is 60. Okay, so let's see what the question is, because we're having way too much fun here. This is measure of BDC. BDC. That is this big angle right here. So how about if I take my color and make this orange, and I can say that this is the orange triangle. Do you see how the orange triangle is missing an angle? It's just missing the angle that we need, because if we know that one, we can add the 2 angles together and we'll be set. So let's see what we have so far in the orange triangle. We have 60 plus 45. That gives me 105. So if I added another 75-degree angle, I would get 180 degrees, which is what I want. So this much must be 75. So angle BDC is going to equal 30 degrees plus 75 degrees, or 105 degrees. Okay, I think I have one page left. Let's look. Yep. Okay, so here's an example for practice. Write a congruent statement for the triangle shown. Identify all pairs of congruent parts. Okay, so write your statement based on the angles. So triangle, let's call the first one X, Y, Z. Is congruent to triangle. Okay, so X is a single, N is a single, Y is a double, M is a double, Z is a triple, P is a triple. That's my congruency statement. Now let's do all pairs of congruent corresponding parts. So based on this statement, the angles would be angle X is congruent to angle N, angle Y is congruent to angle M, and angle Z is congruent to angle P. Then let's change our color again, and we're going to do the sides. So the first two letters, X, Y, that's congruent to the first two letters in the congruency statement, NM. The last two letters, YZ, is congruent to MP. And then last and first, ZX, is congruent, last and first, PN. Done. Okay, so I think that's probably it. Yes, it is. So you now have all the notes for 4.2. Make sure your notes match my notes and that you understand it. And then check on the Google Classroom and see the assignment that goes along with 4.2.